let's go straight into the myths surrounding cesarean section. The first myth, in my context as an African trained medical doctor attending to African women, the first myth I hear from people is that women who deliver by cesarean section are not real mothers. Let me debunk this myth. For a woman who has been able to grow a baby for 9 months, who has a womb that's able to grow a baby for 9 months, and has taken this pregnancy up to the point for the delivery, and it just gets to the point that she's delivering through the abdomen, does that make her less of a woman? See, that myth or that claim doesn't hold water, because for any woman who has the ability to grow a baby and to develop a baby is a woman. That's one. Number two, the second myth is once a woman has a cesarean section, she will always have a cesarean section. This used to be the school of thought some years back, but however, with improvement and development in obstetric care, a woman who has had a cesarean section once can actually have a vaginal delivery or a birth through the vaginal canal after all. However, there are some set criteria that need to be met for a doctor to conduct this delivery after a woman has had a cesarean section, and this is called vaginal birth after cesarean section. So it is possible that a woman that's had a cesarean section once can actually have a normal delivery subsequently. However, there are some criteria that need to be met, and your doctor has to take you through all that when you get to that point. 3. The third myth surrounding cesarean section is that a woman who has had a cesarean section cannot have many children. Generally, cesarean sections, actually, because it's a procedure, like every other procedure, there could always be risks. So usually with increasing number of cesarean sections, it increases the risks. However, this does not mean that a woman who has had cesarean section cannot go on to have as many children as she would want, as long as the procedure is done in the hands of trained and skilled obstetricians. Then the cesarean section is actually safe for women who have had multiple deliveries through a cesarean section. The next myth is that a woman who has had a cesarean section never really heals, that the wound would always cause problems later on in life. This is false. Why? Because the living tissue usually has a healing timetable, and usually by 6 weeks the wound would have healed and consolidated. Okay, and therefore it means that it will no longer cause pain or inflammation that was there at the earlier stages of healing. So that is a lie. For women who have had cesarean sections, they can actually achieve good complete healing and go about their normal activities. The next thing about cesarean section, myth about cesarean sections are very deadly and dangerous. This is false. Cesarean section has been found to be a very safe procedure as long as it's carried out by a skilled and trained doctor who has the skills to not just deliver the baby, but to clothe the baby, but also to care for the woman in the theater and afterwards. So that is a lie. Cesarean section is not dangerous, neither is it harmful. The next myth about cesarean section is that cesarean sections, women who have had cesarean sections, these scars usually affect their sexual performance. Again, that is a lie. Cesarean section involves delivery of the baby from the abdomen, and if looking at it logically, the vaginal tract or the vagina or the birth canal here is usually avoided in this case. So how does cesarean section affect sexual performance in this regard? Rather, you would say that because it is a major surgery, a woman will need time for her body to heal before she can resume sexual activity. Yes, that makes logical sense. But for you to say that cesarean section will affect the sexual performance of a woman is a lie. False. Another myth about cesarean section is that cesarean section will cause infertility for women, because remember at the start of this video, I heard a woman tell me that she was not considering cesarean section because she knew someone who had had a cesarean section and was finding it difficult to conceive later on. I want to say that difficulty with concept can be caused by a myriad of reasons, and cesarean section is not one of them. For that woman in question, she could have been having other complications like maybe hormonal imbalance. Okay, hormonal imbalance is one very important reason why a woman will find it difficult to conceive. She may even be having fibroids that might be distorting the cavity of the womb, preventing, a baby from growing there, so to say. It's just to say it in simpler terms. So that is false. For that woman, she should get evaluated. There could be many other reasons why she was not able to conceive after a cesarean section. A cesarean section may not have anything to do without with that outcome. All right. The next myth surrounding cesarean section is that babies that are born through cesarean section are weaker compared to those that are born through the birth canal. Again, that is a lie. In the defense of cesarean section, so to say, the process of cesarean section actually spares the baby from the stress that from the stress that is encountered during labor. And babies that are born through cesarean section or vaginal delivery are just as healthy, okay, so long as they are given the right care in the postpartum period and moving forward. The next myth concerning cesarean section is that women who have delivered through cesarean section are weak because they are not able to deliver through the birth canal. Again, that is wrong. Cesarean section, like I said before, is one of two possible ways a woman can be delivered, and it does not have anything to do with the woman's ability to deliver by herself or not. All right. The most important thing, or the goal for every delivery is to ensure that both mother and baby are healthy at the end of the day. And if a cesarean section would help us achieve that, then why not?